Yahweh, Yahweh, you have won the victory for me. Oh, Baba, Yahweh, Yahweh. The seat you are on in the office, people want it, but Yahweh, Yahweh. Oh, Mama, Shadabakapadia, Patemakapa, Yahweh, Yahweh. For you have won the victory. You have won the victory for me. Yahweh, Yahweh. Said I know I'm a winner. Yeah, Baba, I'm a son of a kappa. Cause you're fighting for me. Oh, my. Yeah. And you will win the victory if God be for us. Hey, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. Ghana, if God be for us. Africa, I trust in your word, oh God. You trust in his word. He has done it before, mama. Yeah. You will win. You will win. You will win. Yahweh. Lift your hands from your home. Yahweh. 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 Jesus, we magnify Yahweh. You have won the victory over Corona. Mama Sata. If it had not been Yahweh on our side, Yahweh. Over diseases right now, wherever you are, whatever you are going through, I declare to you that our helper, Yahweh, he has won the victory. Yahweh, Yahweh.
Good evening, cherished viewers. You are welcome to today's session of Wednesday Live. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be very engaging, and we are going to treat a very important topic. We are going to be treating fatherhood myths and facts. Fatherhood myths and facts. And I want to encourage you to share the link. Share the link on your status. Share the link on your timeline. Share the link with family and friends. You could also create watch parties and invite people to connect to today's session of Wednesday. And I know that we're going to be blessed. It's going to be very enlightening. It's going to be engaging. And we are so very, very much privileged to have a very wonderful and special person that is going to treat this topic to us. And I want to encourage you. We're going to go on a short break right now. And when we are back, I want you to just stay tuned, stay connected, and we're going to have a glorious time.
When God elevates you, you have to put your feet on the ground, because people will give you an exaggerated picture of yourself. People will blow you out of proportion. Don't take everything people say about you hook, line, and sinker. When they are telling you are the greatest preacher, you are the greatest man, you are the greatest politician, you are very eloquent, you are saying all those kind of things. Don't let it get into your head, because it is not everything people say. Truism and factuality are two different things. Something can be factual, might not be the truth. Depending on the angle of the light, a shadow can appear bigger than the body. So when they are throwing some light on you, do not be deceived, because the angle is giving an exaggerated figure of yourself. But anytime light is thrown on you, there are two things too that will happen. Light does not only bring you to prominence, but light also produces heat. And so when you are going to get on the tables of glory, there is going to be heat all around you, and most of you are going through heat right now, but it's because God has shown his light on you. I pray that may God lift somebody up. May the light of God shine on you. Oftentimes the challenge of men become the address of men. That there are so many people who address us by our challenges, that they prefer to call us by our problems than by our names. Sarah was not raised in a heathenistic family. Abraham wasn't an atheist. They were believers, and yet they were ridiculed and mocked by many. Mockery happens to be the introductory ground for anybody that is destined for higher heights. Jesus was mocked upon. They mocked him. They spat on him. That was mockery. But before that mockery, he never had the crown of glory. But the address of men is not the conclusion of God. Because sometimes when men are making their public addresses, God, who is all wise and all knowing, the God who knows your end from your beginning, will cause and will always use them, and the same platform, the same table, the same place where they ridiculed and mocked that person, that will be the same place God will glorify that person.
Welcome back, viewers. Like I said, today is going to be very wonderful. Today is going to be very engaging, and we have a very wonderful and special guest for today's session of Wednesday Live. And my name is Pastor Philip Baja, and today I have such a great privilege and honor to be able to engage my father, Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye, on this very important topic on fatherhood, myths and facts. And like I said earlier on, please, I would want you to share the link on your status, share the link on your timeline, share the link on Facebook, on Instagram, on the various social media platforms, and invite family and friends so that they can all connect and get their questions resolved, their questions answered about this important topic. So God bless you so much. And as we go on, I would encourage you to comment. You can send your questions, comment on the Facebook page, the Facebook feed, comment, put in your questions, your comments, whatever it is, and Dr. Michael is going to answer your questions. God bless you so much, Papa.
Thank you.
It's such an honor and privilege to have you.
I am honored.
Yes, and
thank you.
Papa, you're looking good.
Wow, likewise. You're also looking very good.
You
are a handsome man, so.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm following after you. Okay, Papa, we are really happy to have you today. And today we are going to deal with a very important topic, fatherhood, myths and facts. And this is something that is quite sensitive. A lot of people have had experiences with fathers, both biological fathers, spiritual fathers, and some people have been hurt, some people have been wounded, some people have also been blessed to have good fathers. And I believe that today's topic is really going to clarify a lot of things in the minds and hearts of people. So before we start, I'd like to find out who is a father and what are the responsibilities of a father?
Wow. Thank you. I also want to greet everybody that is watching us today. I believe it's a blessing to be able to speak to people from different backgrounds, different families, different countries. I know people are watching from Kenya, from South Africa,
yes,
from Europe, from America, and all of that. It's interesting. But a father in the natural sense would be somebody who has given birth. So fatherhood is in connection with birthing.
With birthing.
So if you are able to birth an individual, if you are able to get somebody into the world, or you are able to beget somebody,
wow,
in any field of endeavor, you can be termed or seen as a father. A father, naturally, if you ask about the responsibilities of a father is the one who is able to give invest, support, raise an individual. And I'm using all these words carefully. To invest in somebody, it can be a physical investment, because when a child is born, it's because a father invested a sperm
into the mother.
The sperm yielded dividends in the form of a baby. So fatherhood is about investment as well. That's why you can't blame a woman for having, all my kids are girls, my wife can give me boys. You can't give yourself boys, because you are the investor.
Yeah.
It is what you bring that the mother will turn around for you. So it's all based on you investing, you raising, you supporting. Because when the child is born, you raise the child, you support the child. And it cuts across. When we deal with fatherhood with regards to spirituality, you realize that but a father is the one who responsibilities, nurturing, mentoring, guarding, guiding, governing, having all those oversight responsibilities over a child until they grow into maturity. Even when they grow into maturity, they are still your sons or your daughters. And so the oversight responsibilities, they end when you are no more.
Okay. Papa, you mentioned something about, fatherhood is giving birth. And so I want to ask, is it just biological fathers that we have, or we have other types of fathers?
We do. I mean, it's not just biological. There are people who, let me put this straight. The word father extends beyond the confines of biological positions.
Okay.
So you can beget somebody. You can birth somebody. In ministry, Paul mentioned that we will get there when he was referring to somebody like Timothy as his son. And so you can beget somebody as far as spirituality is concerned. Somebody can be your son in business. In any field of endeavor that we need mentoring or all of that, you can have a father. A father or father figure that has that oversight responsibility. So it's not just biological fathers we have. We also have spiritual fathers, or fathers in the faith.
Okay.
People will call them fathers in faith or fathers in the faith. Okay. So you'll find people who are in the Baha'i religion, they are Muslims, they are all called fathers. Let me give you a typical example. If you grew up, I went to a Catholic school. Okay. So my foundations, very Catholic. I was a mass servant for a while as well.
Wow, that's interesting.
So I have been through the Catholic system. And in Catholicism, every priest is referred to as father.
Yeah.
Because of what they are supposed to do. Nurturing, mentoring, guiding, guarding, governing, and all of that. So they don't have to be the ones that gave birth to the child.
Okay.
It comes naturally because of what they do.
Once they are playing that role of mentoring,
nurturing, investing. You invest time into your children as well. And so maybe that should be in relation with spiritual fatherhood. That a father is the one who is there for his children. Okay. So if you are there for your child sees, so that you are not seen as an absentee father. Okay. Because we have a lot of biological absentee fathers. They gave birth to the children, but they are nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So although they are there, they are absentee fathers. Wow. Although somebody, they can say that, oh, that's my son, that's my daughter. They have never been there. They have always been absent.
Wow. But speaking about absentee fathers, we know that sometimes there are biological fathers who, they have issues with their sons. And last week you gave an example in using your own life as how you had to, gather elders and go and be reconciled to your father. I want to ask a question that when someone is maltreated by his father, sometimes there's a tendency that the person does the same thing to his sons also. What can the person do to kind of break away from that cycle? Not just that one, but then also when we notice that sometimes the behaviors, possibly negative patterns of fathers, the sons tend to replicate those same negative patterns. So what can a son or a child do to break away from that cycle?
See, God has given you so much power.
Wow.
That whatever you don't want, you can change. Whatever you don't want, in terms of behavioral tendencies and patterns, you can change. Some of them you need external help. Others you have to be internally driven to seek change or any form of alteration. In my case, for instance, I went to my father not because I felt that he has maltreated me and I needed to make up with him. Mine came as a result of divine revelation.
Oh, okay.
That where you want to go, you need your father.
Wow.
Okay, you need him. And it's not Christian to bear grudges. No matter, that's why forgiveness is very important.
Yeah.
Even though your father has maltreated you, it is always wise for you to understand that walking with unforgiveness is like keeping people hostage in your heart. And they can only drag you, slow you down, or take you out of your tracks that you're supposed to go. So the best thing for you to do is to, first of all, if you have been maltreated by a father, whether it's a biological father or somebody that got into your space and you saw the person as a father, the moment you have that kind of, let's say, experience,
Okay.
you first of all have to forgive.
Forgive.
It starts with forgiveness. In my case, my father threw me out of the house.
Wow.
So as a 17, 18-year-old young man, I was staying with other people. I was sleeping in classrooms. It's not a very pleasant sight, but I look at it now and I am excited. I went through it because it toughened me.
Okay.
I quite remember when the Lord was giving me that revelation, he said unto me that, why do you bear grudge against him? You were too comfortable. I remember when my father used to live in Holland, they would bring us all these things. I mean, Holland, they will bring you bicycle, they bring you Walkman. Those days it was Walkman. Then later on it became Discman, and I don't know, now it's iPods or whatever
Yes.
they have now. But I was quite comfortable.
Okay.
And I could have stayed with them without even giving life a push. So in the revelation, I got to realize that it was part of a divine plan.
Okay.
That is why anytime you're going through something, seek the counsel of God concerning your trial.
Okay.
Okay? Because some of the trials, it is divinely orchestrated. So if I held any grudge or bore any grudge against my father, it was like insulting God as far as his wisdom of carving my path was concerned.
Yeah.
He carved a path for me. My father was used to execute a divine agenda. Upon hindsight, though, I'm not saying at that time I felt, I didn't understand it, but upon hindsight, I could tell that my father was a victim of God's purpose.
Oh, okay.
So most of the time, people are used as pawns. They are like victims of God's purpose. Okay? And there have been many instances of victims of God's purposes. If you look at Joseph's brothers, for instance, they were victims of God's purpose.
Yeah.
If you look at Judas was a victim of God's purpose. So Judas could say, Jesus could say, Judas, my friend. And so even though Judas did the unthinkable, it was in the divine plan.
Yeah.
The moment you don't see it that way, you are undermining the sovereignty of God. When we say that he knows the end from the beginning. Yeah. So God knew the end game, but started it anyway. When he started, like in my case, upon hindsight, I could tell, okay, when my father pushed me out, knowing that nobody was going, I didn't have family support. So if you don't have support systems in terms of family, it doesn't mean everything is dark and gloom.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that way. Seek the counsel of God concerning the phase wherein you are. Because I realized that made me pray more.
Wow. Wow.
That made me stay away from trouble.
Wow.
So you see, now there are certain behavioral patterns I have that people don't know why. I don't know most people, their homes. I don't.
Okay.
Because in those times, you are preserving
Okay.
yourself. You are only thinking about how to push through the following day. That's all. Okay. So people's business, it is very difficult. It's even unthinkable for me to be found in the space of people discussing other people.
Papa, please hold on. Let me address our viewers and just let them know. So viewers, we are on Wednesday Live with Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye, and we are dealing with the topic fatherhood, myths and facts. And Dr. Michael, Papa, has already briefed us on his father, and how the Spirit of the Lord gave him a revelation that for where he's going to, he has to, in a way, be on good terms with his father so that God can take him to where he's going to. And I believe that for all of us that are watching, if you've had any issue with your father, a father figure in your life, it's important that you do not bear grudge. That's what Papa has taught us. You do not bear grudge, and you go and be reconciled with the person. So please stay tuned, stay connected, and we are having such a wonderful time with Dr. Michael. So please stay tuned, and remember to share the link. God bless you. So Papa, I want to ask a question. I know, like you earlier said, that we have fathers, anyone who nurtures you, anyone who spends time, invests in somebody, the person is like a father. So do we have fathers in business also?
Definitely. Anybody who is invested in nurturing, if that definition is to stay true, then if you get somebody who holds your hand, mentors you through the journey of your business career or path, the person automatically becomes like a father figure as far as business is concerned.
Let me ask a further question to that also. That now in the business setting, if let's say the manager or the CEO is kind of interested, he identifies a potential employee that he wants to invest in that employee and give that employee opportunities and privileges. Can it be seen as office politics? And how should the manager manage the situation, and how should that potential manager also manage the situation?
Well, first of all, I think in every human setting, people will be favored.
Wow.
There are people who walk in divine favor. Maybe the person is part of divine idea, and the person will break out and be helped by another person in that regard. When you identify a potential in any space, even in ministry, young men have come around. You've identified potential in a young man, and you want to push the young man up. There will always be politics. Politicking is intricately interwoven in our human lives, in everything that we do. Even amongst, if you are raising up children, you have sibling rivalry, whereby there will be politicking around. If you get somebody amongst the siblings who is able to undermine, the person becomes a snitch. Yeah. And whatever happens, as soon as mom is there or dad is there, when you were in there, Philip did this. When you were in there, Michael did this. So you see that the person indirectly is doing politics in their house to gain the favor of the father. That, that guy is not a good guy. This my boy, this my girl is good. I love my boy, I love my girl, because whatever happens, you come and tell me and all of that. But indirectly, you are nurturing a gossip.
Okay.
So there are so many things that if the person is competent and you are a boss and you've been able to identify that, it is about you walking in the spirit of equity.
Okay.
Be fair. Whatever is due everybody, let them have it. But the one you have seen, you can draw the person rather closer and invest as in counsel.
Okay.
Give that kind of direction or guidance. But give yourself some time. Because there are people who run marathons as if they are doing sprint.
Okay.
So there are people who come around you, and in a short time they would like you to see that they are ready to work.
Wow.
But they get burnt out very easily. You have to be around for a while to know that there are people who run the 5,000 meters as if they are. Let me give you a typical. When I was in secondary school.
Okay.
You know, in secondary school, as soon as you get into the school, they have sports.
Yeah.
Where they are able to tell, okay, these guys who do the running, these guys who play football, play volley, play hockey. You can try for any of them. But I remember we were having inter-houses. And my house, we had somebody.
Okay.
we nicknamed him later after this incident I'm talking about. So I'll mention that name. So the inter-houses competition started, and it started with, I think, was it 5,000 meters.
Okay.
So you go around the park, I think a couple of times. I forgot it. I played football. Mine was not track and field. So this gentleman, when we started, it was a mixed school. So there were girls.
They're giving him fun.
Cheering the guy on. As soon as we started, within 2 minutes, he was much ahead of the other people.
Wow.
And everybody was cheering him on. Everybody was cheering him on. By the time we realized, he was running, but he wasn't moving.
Wow.
As in, everybody was running past him, and he was, all that we heard, he fell, as in he went down, and he started shouting, glucose, glucose, glucose. So later on, first year, we were all in first year, we nicknamed him
Glucose.
Glucose. All right? So there are people who are like that. When they come around you, they will run the marathon as if they are doing, sprint. So within the first 100 meters, they will give their all, but they will get burnt out. So you have to find out if that employee is like that.
It's like that, okay.
That's why I'm saying give yourself time. Time is the best revealer of every truth.
Okay.
Time is pregnant with true identities.
Wow, time is pregnant with true identity.
So whatever anybody is doing around you, give the person time. If the person is loyal, time will tell. If the person is disloyal, time will tell. If the person is genuinely good, time will tell. If the person was a one-hit sensation, time will tell. So, because even in the music industry, you'll find out that somebody came out with one hit album or one hit song. That's it. So let's say that you were a producer and you saw that hit song and quickly you signed the person onto your record label, give the person a lot of money. Signing on fee. The person is not going to be able to reproduce. There are few people who are good lyricists. So maybe you have to probably think, okay, I think he has good vocal strength. Can I get a lyricist or a good writer and let the person write music? So you have to give yourself time. Whatever. Okay. And if you are also the subordinate that is being given these favors by your boss, you don't rub it in. Okay. Because you see, you don't provoke your brothers to jealousy. That was Joseph's problem. When you are giving the coat of many colors, let people discover it rather than you showing it to people.
Yeah.
The problem is that we want people to see what we have. People have the tendency of being jealous.
Yeah.
So you should tread with a lot of caution. You should be a bit circumspect in most of the things that you do.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much for that insight. Papa, I want to move into spiritual fatherhood. And I know people have a lot of questions in that aspect also. And the first question I want to ask is, can someone have more than one spiritual father?
Well, if you ask me, I don't think so. If you ask me, candidly, I don't think so. Yeah. We have a lot of confused young men and confused young women who have about a lot of spiritual fathers. But just as you can have more than one biological father, you can have uncles. 1 Corinthians chapter 4, Paul said, although you have 10,000 instructors, yet you don't have many fathers. Because through the gospel, I have begotten you. So your spiritual father is the one who through the gospel has begotten you, giving you identity, invested into whether it's your way of ministry, your style of ministry, your identity as far as ministry is concerned. Because fatherhood is about an extension of an identity.
Yeah.
So you are your father's son or your father's daughter because your father has given you chromosomes. He has extended his identity into you. Spiritual fatherhood is like that. So you can have multiple fathers. You can have multiple instructors.
Yeah.
You can have multiple mentors. You can have multiple instructors, mentors, people that you look up to, people that you admire their ministry style, their ministry patterns, how they do their ministry. I just love this man. I love the way he goes about A, B, C, D. Then the person becomes a mentor or somebody that you take instructions from or you take inspiration from. But spiritual fatherhood, you cannot have multiple fathers.
Okay.
The thing is, you need to have revelation on who your father is.
Yeah.
If you follow your senses in choosing a father, you always have others to choose.
So we need revelation.
You need revelation.
God must lead us.
God must lead anybody who is saying, I want a father. I want a spiritual father. I want a father in the faith. Somebody who has begotten you is a father. So somebody who, Paul said, I have begotten you in or with the gospel. So you need that. You need a divine revelation. You need God to speak to you, speak through you, and open your eyes as to who your father is. If you're able to get fatherhood by revelation,
okay,
you get longevity through association.
Wow. Wow.
Did you get that?
Yes, Papa.
If you're able to get fatherhood
by
through revelation, you are able to get longevity through association.
So, Papa, what if maybe somebody, like you said, maybe this person brought the person to Christ Jesus, and then he sees a man of God who has a prophetic ministry, wants to learn the prophetic or healing from another man of God. So he begins to follow that man of God. Does that man of God also become like a father to him?
Becomes an instructor, technically. Becomes an instructor or a mentor. Save, of course, the Lord gave this person a revelation that that's your father.
Okay.
Because you see, let's say the first person who touched you when you were being born was either the midwife or the doctor.
Okay.
The fact that he touched you first, brought you out, helped you out, does not mean he is the one or she is the one that placed you there.
Yeah.
Another. But so somebody can take and give to the rightful owner. So somebody can also work, but through revelation you realize that my mentor brought me here, my father brought me here, but ultimately this was where I am supposed to go. So spiritual fatherhood, I'll constantly tell people that don't pick up spiritual fatherhood or a spiritual father just as somebody who goes to the shop and picks a shoe.
Wow.
Your senses won't help. You walk by revelation.
But I want to ask a question. If somebody has a spiritual father and the spiritual father is found in like some grievous sin or deviation from sound biblical doctrine, should he, what should his response be to the spiritual father? Should he leave the spiritual father? Should he still be with the spiritual father? What should his approach be?
That's a tricky one. The first thing I would say is that I'll go back to the sovereignty of God.
Okay.
God knows why he gave. If my father becomes a drunkard, my biological father becomes a drunkard, I will not disown him. I will not run away from my father because he became a drunkard. But this one is of faith. So if the person is no more of the faith, it becomes a problem. That is where the challenge is. If the person has fallen, I will still not run away. I will rather pray.
Okay.
Again, seeking counsel from the Holy Spirit, who, although he knew the end from the beginning, directed my path to the man he knew was going to fall.
Okay.
If I know he's going to fall.
Okay.
That's the Holy Spirit. If I know he's going to fall, and I still called him, and I still said, go and follow him, or go and understudy him, until I am done with him, I will not tell you to move on. Maybe the counsel of a U-turn will come from the son.
Wow. Wow.
So sometimes it takes a son to instruct better the father.
Papa, we're going on a short break, but before we do that, I want to ask a question. Can you tell us about your spiritual father and how it was, the kind of things that your spiritual father, imparted into you, and the experience it was following your spiritual father?
Well, with me, I was very privileged to have a minimalist for a father. Although he is of blessed memory now, Bishop Nicholas Asare of CBC, he was a minimalist. For me, he stood for me. I remember when my mom was angry that I said I was going to do ministry. My mom went to him.
Wow.
Oh, there was a time he came to Destiny Arena of the Maker's House, the old site of Destiny Arena. He came to preach there.
Wow.
And he gave a testimony. He gave that testimony. He said, my mom passed about many years ago, about 18 years or 19 years ago, thereabout. 23rd May was about 18 or 19 years since my mom passed. So when Bishop Nicholas came to church about 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, he said something very profound. This is what he said. He said, I wish your mother was here, that I would have told her that I would have asked her how she was feeling now. Because my mom went to him. My mom literally fought him. Not fought, but as in confronted him that they were misleading me.
Wow.
Then he said to my mom, your son has a great calling over his life to make greater impact in his generation. Just watch him, support him, and see what God is going to do with him.
Wow. 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 Wow.
So he supported me. He helped, he supported, he pushed me. When I say he was a minimalist, he was the person who was getting a lot of invitations to go outside Ghana to go and preach. When you invite him, he will tell you that God has not spoken to me yet.
Amazing.
So he raised me knowing that if you make a step, as far as God is concerned, don't do God's work without God's instruction.
Wow.
Don't think for God that, okay, I think God needs this to be done, so let me go and do it. He will always tell you it's not your work. It's his work. He has called you to work for him. So whatever you do for him, it should come on the back of his approval. He was also the person who made me appreciate that you don't do ministry for financial gains.
Wow.
So he was doing ministry for a long time. And then if you even, the house that he was living in, we bought it for him, I don't think no more than 3 years before he passed.
Wow.
I think when we bought the house for him, 2 years or so after he passed.
Wow.
Okay. So for the many years he was doing ministry, he was in a rented space, raised a lot of generals, and a lot of the strong men in the faith had come through his hands. But he will tell you, follow God, don't covet, don't become Gehazi, don't look for the material. That was the kind of father I had. It shaped the way I think and I do ministry. It made me know that it is, and he will always tell you, he'll call you and tell you, this work that you are doing, it is God that blesses.
Wow.
And so if you do it, he will bless you. Don't look at what somebody is having. And so in his church, where I was serving, everybody was treated the same.
Wow.
The richest to the poorest. Because his idea is a soul is a soul.
Wow.
Okay? A soul is a soul. So if the person is poor, is still regarded as a soul before God. If the person is rich, he's still regarded as a soul before God. So those were some of the timeless and priceless things I had or I inherited from him. He will put God first. He will wake up at dawn, pray. He will worship. He will, such an amazing character.
Wow.
And since he did ministry and we knew him, let me say that he is the only man of God I have met in my lifetime.
Wow.
Who had no issues or scandals.
Thank God.
As in, there, you won't even get in. His house, the mission house, you have a lot of prayer warriors there. When you come for him to pray with you, he calls the... One funny story. So a young man who is a son of mine as well, he had backsliding. He went to my spiritual father that he should pray for him. He made him sit, called all the Bible school guys, the Bible students, to come and surround the guy and pray for him. When the guy sat down to be prayed for, he said, pray for your brother. He's just falling into sexual sins and immorals. Not knowing that two of the guys in the Bible school are from his church. Wow. So when he said that, and they prayed for him, the guys didn't go back to the church anymore. So those are certain things. He was such a great character and influence, a strong man, a man that loved God. I never heard him, ever in my time serving under him and under studying him, never will he bring up any man of God to discuss.
Wow.
He doesn't talk about people. He doesn't talk about men of God. He'll give you assignment. Go and read this book. Come and let's discuss. Go and read this chapter, this Bible, this book of the Bible. Come, let's discuss. He'll be praying with you. He will send you to pray. That was the kind of upbringing. Those are some of the things that are... And so you not coveting material things, not being materialistic, not looking for self-aggrandizement, not going for... He never preached on TV. He was never on a radio. He was just doing his work as a minister of the gospel.
But we see that you embody all those
I try.
And we are learning from you also.
Because I learned it from... I have met a lot of people in my lifetime, but I think we don't have many people like him.
Papa, let me ask you a question. So since he's going to be with the Lord, has God given you a revelation of, shall I say, like a replacement father now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as I told you, with fatherhood, it should be about revelation. Yeah. And not something that you... Okay, so for me, I have a lot of instructors. There are so many men around me, as in strong men.
Yeah.
But I have a direction on who my father is. And I accord him that honor, that respect, that my decisions, I run them through. I talk to him. He'll call, he'll test, and all of that. We do all of that. The problem that we have with this generation, also, is the fact that there are people who don't have the revelation of fatherhood.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of abusers. You have people who will come around you who will call you father. But when they are not around you, they don't even
acknowledge you.
No, they don't.
Okay, Papa, we'll be going on a break, then we'll come back to discuss the topics here. So viewers, please stay connected, stay tuned, and do well to share the link. We're having such a glorious and exciting time with Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye, teaching about fatherhood myths and facts. We're going on a short break right now. We'll be back. And please do well to send in your questions. Any question you have, later we are going to read the questions and Papa is going to answer the questions. So you can send in your questions and Papa will be answering them. So stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.
When the favor of God visits a man, it brings visitation upon the man. God visits people based on where they are going, not where they are. An angel had visited Mary, and when the angel visited Mary, the angel came with a salutation that was strange. Said, Mary, you are blessed amongst women. And yet, at this point, the lady was only a teenager. When God manifests himself in the lives of an individual, God is not considering their current state or status. God is considering where he's taking them to. And so God will look at somebody that people will relegate, people will look down upon, people will not count for anything. And God will slap his grace on them and call them the blessed and the favored amongst women. Don't forget that when God visited Gideon, Gideon was hiding. Gideon was a coward and was hiding. And when the angel had visited Gideon, the angel said, you are a mighty man of valor. Why? Because God will always judge your end, not your present predicament. And when God visits anybody, God changes their identity and their address. Oftentimes, the challenge of men become the address of men. That there are so many people who address us by our challenges, that they prefer to call us by our problems than by our names. Sarah was not raised in a heathenistic family. Abraham wasn't an atheist. They were believers, and yet they were ridiculed and mocked by many. Mockery happens to be the introductory ground for anybody that is destined for higher heights. Jesus was mocked upon. They mocked him. They spat on him. That was mockery. But before that mockery, he never had the crown of glory. But the address of men is not the conclusion of God. Because sometimes when men are making their public addresses, God, who is all wise and all knowing, the God who knows your end from your beginning, will cause and will always use them, and the same platform, the same table, the same place where they ridiculed and mocked that person, that will be the same place God will glorify that person.
Welcome back, viewers. We're having a glorious time with Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye. We are learning about fatherhood, myths, and facts. I want to encourage you, wherever you are watching from, you can tell us where you are watching from, and also do well to share the link. Share the link on your status, share the link on your timeline, on your various social media platforms. And also, please send in your questions. Dr. Michael will be ready to answer your questions. So do well to send in your questions, whatever it is that has been, on your mind about fatherhood, whether it's regarding biological fathers, spiritual fathers, fathers in ministry. Do well to send in your questions, and they'll be duly answered. Papa, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Papa, I want to find out, what are the responsibilities of a spiritual father?
I think they shouldn't be very different from what the physical or biological father is supposed to be doing. Nurturing, guiding, guiding, imparting knowledge, ideas, experiences. It will be suicidal to allow your sons to go through the same struggles you went through. And a true father does not conceal scars as far as the sons are concerned. So what bruised you, you should be able to tell a son that I fought the same beast. I overcame the beast, but not without scratches.
But when the sons kind of look down on the father, if they know the father's scars,
they are not sons then. Okay. So that's why I was saying that there are a lot of hirelings who parade themselves as sons. A true son, as I said, if my father has a stroke now, and I say that because my father has a stroke and because somebody has to take my father to the washroom and clean up my father loses his place or his spot as a father, then I'm not even helping myself.
Yeah.
And so a true father should be able to tell the son that, you know what, I fought this thing. You are fighting temptations. I fought it. These were the ways or what I used to fight it.
To overcome them.
You are fighting pressure from whether it's business or from a marriage or from work or this. I have been through it too. This is what I used. This is how I came out of it. So father should be able to tell. So a true father gives guidance, gives direction, helps the sons to grow, nurtures them, invests in them. I used the book of Matthew when I was talking about the Lord's Prayer, Matthew
last
6. Last week when we were talking about the fact that Jesus said, give us. So fathers are givers. So a father is not just a taker, a father is a giver. Okay.
A father is not just a taker, a father is
a giver.
A taker in terms of monetary.
A father can take honor.
Okay.
A father can be, so a father taking honor, if you give money or a car to your father, it is honorarium. Honorarium comes from the word honor. So it is not a payment. It is an honorarium. It's something done to honor you for accepting the responsibility of mentorship.
It's not a payment, but
it's not a payment.
honor.
is honor. So whatever you give to your father is done in honor. Sons and daughters are supposed to honor. And any honor that can be done in public but not in private is not true honor.
Amazing.
So let me put it this way. A lot of people work on their reputation or public image, which can be faked.
Okay.
You can pay people to paint a picture of you, to give you a public image that is not reflective of who you truly are. So there are people who do things so publicly. You can be building reputation, but reputation is different from integrity and character.
Okay.
Okay. Character and integrity are things that, those are the things that are inside out. Those are the things that if you are left alone, it is your character and integrity that will come to bear. But you can do anything to give yourself the publicity stand for a public reputation or public image to be created. Those things are also doable. And so these are some of the few things that, if you ask me, I will definitely talk about.
Okay. Papa, let me ask, when someone gets a revelation that this person is supposed to be his spiritual father, what's the next step that the person has to take?
Approach.
Approach.
If you pray it and God spoke to you, one of the things you can as well do is to pray and tell God that, okay, if this is you,
okay,
speak to him too.
Okay.
So that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, a counsel is established. So by the time I'm going to him, let him know why he sent me there. The all-knowing, all-wise God will reveal himself to him, so that the conversation does not even become lengthy. Again, the problem is not the fathers not even accepting sons. I think it's difficult to be a father.
Wow.
Yes, the difficulties of fatherhood, we sometimes downplay them. A lot of men have been bent before. A lot of men have even fathered children that were not theirs biologically before.
Yeah.
So they said this until they did DNA. They didn't even know. They had taken them through schools, paid heavy sums of money to
and
train
they were not their biological children.
And they were not. But they raised them anyway. So a lot of fathers have been bent. Their fingers have been bent. A lot of fathers have been through struggles. I mean, you can spiritually, you can help somebody rise. You can give somebody platform, give somebody exposure. And you realize that these same people will even go behind you to speak to the people, undermine you before people just to find favor. So fathers have been very much challenged. And so these days, I would say that if God is really directing you, that somebody is your father, pray and tell God that, God, please give him a witness in his heart, that he will know that you sent me and my intentions are clear.
So, Papa, if a spiritual father is abusing the spiritual son, what approach should the spiritual son take?
It's just like saying, if your father is maltreating you at home, what should you do? Would you please find out why he does that? Because I think a spiritual son and a spiritual daughter and a spiritual father issues, if we are talking about it, it's not really like you stay in the same house with the person.
Yeah.
So what will be termed maltreatment? Will it be that he doesn't care, he doesn't look for you, he doesn't pray for you? And how will you know he doesn't pray for you? Is it that he doesn't, he's an absentee father? How will you say he's maltreating you? Because he won't pick a cane and beat you. He's not going to slap you. He's not going. So how is he maltreating?
Papa, sometimes there are instances where fathers kind of extort money from their sons.
Yes, so that's not a maltreatment. Okay. That's exploitation.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you do when your father, spiritual father, is exploiting you? If you were led there by God, and God told you, this is my father, or this is your father, God told you, okay, you see him, he is your father. I believe God has placed everything he has in a basket, weighed it on a scale, and still saw that, okay, with where you are going is the one to father you. I think that sometimes you should have open conversations with your father too. That's the problem we are having. Have an open conversation. Papa, I'm struggling. Every time you ask me for venison, for seed, for money, I bring it. but sometimes it's draining because I have to even go and look for the money elsewhere to bring it. Because I honor you and I don't want to, but it's sometimes very hard for me.
Yeah.
When you have an open conversation, you see that if it is truly genuine, as in God sent you to him, his attitude will change.
Wow, that's really true.
So have an open conversation. A lot of people will rather run commentary outside and not have an open conversation with their dads. Have that kind of open conversations with your children. Yeah. No matter the situation, have an open conversation. If you're a father, have an open conversations with your children. If you're a son, have an open conversation with your father, especially if you feel abused in that regard.
Yeah. Papa, if somebody missed it and went to, in terms of God's leading, and went to submit to a person that is not, so he's now gotten the revelation that that's not really supposed to be his spiritual father, but he's already going to submit and probably already started serving. In such a case, what should he do?
There is no acknowledgement in the heavens. In the records of the heavens doesn't recognize that relationship. What God will recognize is what has been said in eternity and before time. And so it is just like being in a place that you are not supposed to be. When you come to your senses, that's the story of the prodigal son. The moment you come to your senses, you have to run back to your father. That is supposed to mean that after you have the revelation of who you are supposed to, I don't think the prodigal son fought the people who he was serving at the piggery before he left. You can just kiss them goodbye and tell them, you know what, thank you for your time. Thank you. You gave me an opportunity to take care of the pigs. You gave me food to eat. I am very thankful, but it's time to go. And I'm going home. So you can bid these ones farewell and walk in divine revelation. Because, you see, even if you have revelations, life is tough.
Yeah.
So if life is tough for me with revelation, I wonder how life will be for somebody without revelation.
It's true.
So the moment you get the revelation that this is your father, it is only wise to run on that tangent.
Papa, we last year experienced, we saw how a lot of fathers in the land, that spiritual fathers in the land came around. Dr. Lawrence Tete, Archbishop, Bishop Takia Boy, and of course last year experience also, you brought Pastor Benny Hinn down. Well, I want to ask, how have you been? We can see that you work in a lot of favor with the fathers, both nationally and internationally. What are the things you do to, have such favor with them, for them to love you, honor you, respect you, and even for Pastor Benny Hinn to come down for you to host Pastor Benny Hinn? Because I know it takes 7 years, probably 7 years, to invite him for him to come down. So what do you do to really attract such favor?
There is dignity in honor. And there is honor in dignity.
Dignity in honor and honor in dignity. Wow.
You see, the truth is that when a lot of the people we call sons get around, fathers can sense that you want to exploit them.
Okay.
Because they've walked the rope before. They know how ministry is done. So if you get around them and you are exploiting them, or you are there because you are seeking advantage, they see it.
Okay.
One of the things that I have to also say is that favor must come from God. God has to favor you. That's one. But number two, honor people.
Honor people.
Honor them. I'm not talking about when you meet them what you do. The fathers on the land that you mentioned, they are amazing people. It will amaze you. Somebody like Bishop Ajinasari.
Wow.
He will, normally every Sunday morning by 6:15 a.m., he will send me a message on WhatsApp telling me, have a beautiful service, I'm praying with you.
Wow, that's a real blessing.
So, and not only Bishop Anyani Bodu, he will send you a message. When there is an information he thinks you should know, he will quickly send it to you. Bishop Takia Boy, It's endless. Dr. Lawrence Tete, amazing man. He will call you. Where are you? Just come home. When you go home, probably there is kinky, there is chinam, there is shito. There is food available everywhere. Let's eat, and you'll be eating and talking and jokes and telling you stories. But you see, in the moments they are not serious, in their casual moments, that's when they drop mysteries of life.
That's insightful.
So for me, when I'm around people who are ahead of me, I don't take any time of theirs for granted. And they'll all tell you that I am like a baby when I'm around them. I don't know anything. I'm not knowledgeable. I don't have any idea. I am here to drink. I'm not there to spend. I'm there to be spent on.
Yeah.
So I am normally quiet, getting nuggets of wisdom. You see, a lot of young men get around big people and they want to let them know
what they know.
What they know. But what you know, they know more.
Yeah.
So can you be humble and learn, drink from their wells of wisdom? I mean, all the fathers, Reverend Steve Mensah, Reverend Stanley Mensah of SEM, you have to get close to them to know. They are amazing people.
Amen.
Fantastic people. Reverend Steve is loving. He loves my wife so much. He's loving. He's Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. Ooh.
Amazing.
If I make any comment, if you hear that I spoke on TV or radio, and something is not comfortable with something I said, he'll call me. I've seen this. So this, and when they are talking to me, I'm ready to learn. If I didn't do right, I'll tell them, okay, I'll make amends. I'll get it right. I'll get it fixed. So if I listen to Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, who I consider as my spiritual father, if I look at Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, and he's talking to me,
okay,
I am getting over 40 years advantage.
Wow.
Because his life in ministry, he has been in ministry for over 40 years. Last 2 years, he did 60-40, or last 3 years. He did, 40-20. No, 60-40. He did 60-40. He was 60 years 3 years ago, and he was 40 years in ministry. So he has been in ministry for 43 years now. Now, what I mean is, the 43 years, if I sit with him, he has given to me his 43 years of ministry
experience
for me to run with. So I'm not starting from zero. I'm starting on 43.
Amazing.
That's how I reason when I get around them. When I'm around Reverend Istudanapa, he is giving me many years of ministry. Reverend Istu just turned 60, just the other day. So 60 years, whatever he is giving to me, I'm running with over 3 decades of ministry experience and intellect. Bishop Anyenibud, Dr. Lawrence Tete, Bishop Ajnasai. In fact, and by the grace of God, I have a good relationship with all the fathers that we have in Ghana, because I'm ready to learn from all of them. All right. So, it's most of the time the problem is that when sons come around fathers, they are looking for an opportunity to exploit them. Let me give you a perfect example. The Maker's House Destiny Arena sits 5,000 people. 5,000 people. A young man can submit to you as a father, thinking, and of all the young men that have been around who are not in the Destiny Arena necessarily or under the Maker's House umbrella, you know you are the only young man that has preached on my pulpit.
Papa,
okay, at the old side.
Papa, you told me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Coming to the new side. At the old side, you are the only young man who preached for me. So a young man could come around you, and he is looking at association, knowing that your crowd can benefit him.
Yeah.
So standing on your platform gives him mileage. It's true, it will. But if I sense that, then I question your motive. So a lot of fathers question the motives of sons. And so when I get around anybody I consider a father, I make sure, if Archbishop Duncan Williams was here, he would tell you. There was a time I told him, Papa, I just want to learn. I'm not interested in action platform. I don't. In fact, if you tell me to come and preach, I'll run away. The platform, action platform, I am not even interested. I'm only interested
in
learning. How do I become a better man? How do I fight the battles of life? How do I endure? Because you've done ministry for over 40 plus years and you are still doing it. You have endurance. How do I develop stamina for ministry? These are some of the things. And so if the fathers are able to sense that, I think they are open.
Then, thank you. We have a question from Fifi Bright. He says that how can I get a spiritual father? Of course, Papa, you spoke about that it has to be by revelation. So, but I don't know if you'd like to add something to that.
No. It's by revelation. How do you get it? It's by revelation. You can only get a spiritual father through revelation.
Yeah.
By revelation. You have to pray. So Fifi can pray about it and ask God, Lord, I need mentoring. I need a father as far as this walk of faith is concerned. So please help me. And I believe that the all-wise, almighty God will guide you into all truth.
Amen. Papa, a question I have is, how do we, like you spoke about learning from Archbishop and all that, how does a son draw from the spiritual father? So that the son, because there are times that a son can be with a spiritual father and not really, walk in the dimensions that the spiritual father walks in. So how does a son draw from the spiritual father to become like the spiritual father?
Well, if truly he's the one that is birthing you, ministry-wise, the elephant won't pray for size.
To grow big.
Elephant. It's not any elephant that will go on the mountain to pray that let me become big. Has a problem. Needs a neurosurgeon to help them with brain matters. Because a pit bull is born wild. A lion is born wild and fierce and all of that. So if the person has really begotten you, there are certain things that will come naturally, automatically. Again, there are no straight roads when it comes to, because the father is a human being and has different behavioral patterns and tendencies. They might not respond to the same stimulus as in the same. A lot of fathers have their ways of even teaching people.
Yeah.
A lot of sons too have ways of learning. Some sons can learn without asking a question, only through observation. So you should know yourself. How do I learn? Do I learn more through questioning? So that any opportunity I get around my father, I should ask questions.
Yeah.
So if you learn through questions, seek times, seek opportunities, and ask relevant questions, because that will help. Maybe you don't learn through questions, you learn through observations. Seek time to be around and observe. Sometimes observe how he goes about his things, and when he's talking, listen. Because a lot of people, they will say, I hear you, but they are not listening. You can be heard, but not listened.
Yeah.
All right? Yeah. So you need people to listen. And so if sons come around and they listen, it's very easy for you to pour yourself into them.
Papa, we have a question from Michael Yebu. He's asking that, please, does a spiritual father choose a spiritual son? Does a spiritual father choose for a spiritual son?
I don't know what he means by choose for, whether it's choosing a life partner, choosing a business, choosing...
Maybe I think he means does a spiritual father choose that this person is supposed to be the spiritual son?
Oh, well, spiritually, let me say that a prayer can be offered about that. But mostly, you don't really get yourself involved in the construction of a child. Once there is an investment,
okay,
however the child comes out is your child. That's how biological fatherhood is about. Spiritually too, a lot of the time, it's normally the reverse. If the father is to say, you are my spiritual son, the son without revelation will say it's an imposition.
It's true. It's true.
So that one the fathers should be careful. Let the son get it by revelation. You can also have it by revelation. I have had that before. That somebody came to me to tell me, you are my spiritual father. The night before he came, or months before, because I've had a lot of instances. One of them months before. The other one, the night before he came, I had a dream. And the dream, I was walking with the person, and I gave my briefcase to the person to hold.
Okay.
And we went on a journey, visiting places, but the person was holding my briefcase. So when I woke up from the dream, I heard the voice that this is what is, he is your son, you are supposed to help him, let him hold, let him. So there are certain dimensions that came. So when the person came to tell me, I confirmed it. That is true. I was waiting for you.
Wow.
So it happens.
Wow.
That can be done. But if the father is to call a son and say that, oh, you are my spiritual son, the person might see it as an imposition, and it will defeat the whole purpose of mutual love, honor, and integrity.
Papa, we have another question from Nanajwa A. Sifa. She says that, Papa, how can one also impact the life of the spiritual father or mentor? How can one also impact the life of the spiritual father or mentor?
By honoring the person. For me, I think honor is the best form of support you can give to anybody.
Yeah.
You see, no matter the level of access your father gives you, never be familiar.
Never be familiar.
When I see somebody who is riding on the back of familiarity, I know the person is not wise.
Wow. Papa, how do you discern that someone
let me
is
help you.
familiar?
So when a son comes around you, you watch their mannerisms, how they react. Probably you are having a meeting or you are sitting, the son comes and grabs a chair and sits by you. Pastor Benihin gave me an advice. Let me share it.
But we are interested.
We were with him in Dallas. We were having dinner. And he said, when he wants to test, he said, concerning spiritual sons and people who come around you to work with you. He said, if he is having a snack or eating, having nuts in a bowl, and he's just picking the nuts, and he drops the nut on the table. If you find a son or a daughter dipping his hand in the bowl and getting some of the nuts, there is a problem with that son.
It's a problem.
That is familiarity as well. Yeah. If you see somebody who honors a father, even when they come around the father, they will wait upon an invitation. It's just like, oh, come. Oh, let him come. Oh, ask him to come. Oh, go and call him for me. But there are people who, when they come, they feel, okay, I'm entitled. Open the door. Don't you know me?
It's true.
The moment that happens, you have broken the creed and the code of integrity and all this. So you don't honor them, because honor is a very crucial thing. You honor the person. Again, I tell you, if you give me this drink, refreshing cold drink, if you give me this drink and you say I should enjoy it, you've honored me. This honorarium. You've not paid me, you've honored me. Okay. And so everything done to fathers that you want it to be impactful to them should be done out of honor. You should honor them.
Thank you very much for the answer. Papa, we have another question from Florence Mamle McCarthy. And she says, someone told me, your pastor can't be your spiritual father, but the only spiritual father everyone should have is Jesus. Please, how true is that?
Well, the person who told you that is not acutely naive, but is gravely endangered. The person is walking in a lot of ignorance as far as scripture is concerned.
It's true.
I'm saying that again because also,
Papa,
Paul could call Timothy my son. John Mark, my son. Again, I quoted 1 Corinthians, right?
Yes, Papa.
Chapter 4. When Paul said, you have many instructors, but few fathers. But not many fathers. That I have begotten you. Paul was saying that I am a father unto you. He didn't say Christ is. Okay? So, even in law, we have judicial precedents that you judge cases based on the judgment given to cases that had gone before.
Previous cases.
The previous case is even in scripture. Paul calling them sons. Them calling Paul father. So that argument is flawed. You can have a spiritual father. You can have a father, we call them father in the faith.
Yeah.
You can have a father in the faith. Somebody who has begotten you. There is nothing wrong with that at all. Okay?
We actually need them.
You need a father. You need that father. So the person that is saying that, let me not get into walking into the pseudo-spirituality that most of these people think they have, which obviously drifts them off the... let's not get there.
Papa, we have another question from Daniela Christine Dia. She says that, Papa, please, is it compulsory for your church pastor to be your spiritual father?
I won't say that. If spiritual father is by revelation, then it can be compulsory. Do you get my point?
Okay.
You can be in a place where you are being mentored, but through fatherhood comes through revelation. The Lord has to reveal to you who your father is. If the Lord reveals to you that this is your father, but I've placed you here for mentorship, you are able to grow out of that.
Yeah. Wow. So, Papa, that means that the spiritual father also must be able to discern that this person is to be my spiritual son.
Of course, because if the spiritual father is not also smart, you have people who are coming to exploit you. People who are coming to break you. People who are coming to... a lot of people are... because there are a lot of con artists around. There are people who are scammers as well. And so there are people who are coming because they are thinking, okay, what's the end game? What am I going to gain from this?
Yeah.
So because they know they are going to have a gain from it, they are probably thinking, okay, I'm going to strike and get this and get that and get this and get that.
Like you said, they want the platform.
You see, there is something like Reverend Steve Mensah, okay? Reverend Steve. He's a man that I love so much. Reverend Steve and Reverend Stanley is amazing. It's something else. When I was with Reverend Steve Mensah, 2005, the first time I stood on that platform was in November 2005. November 2005, 15 years ago.
Wow, amazing.
I left CEM in November, I think about 2007. I was there for almost 2 years. I did not leave CEM because I had a problem with anybody. I did not leave CEM because they had a problem with me. I left CEM because I was going back to school.
Okay, Papa.
That was the time I was going to do my master's, try and get my PhDs. So I was going back to school. In fact, in 2011, when I was through with certain courses and I was back in Ghana, I remember I went to do a program in 2011 for SEM in November in their fasting and prayer as well.
Oh, okay.
So what I mean is that when I left in 2007, TMH started in 2013. 6 years later.
Okay.
What I mean is you will have people who will come around you. Probably they leave you and that's wrong. I will say that again. Save, of course, the Lord is sending you to another geographical location. Like the Holy Spirit will say, separate unto me Paul and Barnabas. It happens.
Okay.
But there are people who, they will come, they will use that opportunity, want to break you and start off a ministry. So if you are a spiritual father and you don't discern, you treat hirelings as sons. But you don't need hirelings. Hirelings are servants who won't stay with you forever.
Yes.
Sons can have independence financially, independence accommodation-wise, but they still trace their roots back to the father.
Okay. Wow, thank you, Papa. Papa, we have some questions and comments from Sedem Kofi Gadago. He says that God richly bless you for the deep insights. Please, can a father's will or plans for a son be contrary to what the son wants? What do you do when there's a conflict? And then Philip Opata says that, Papa, please, should you rely on dreams in order to know who your spiritual father is? And then Charlotte Leeward says, Papa, God bless you abundantly for all you are teaching. Thank you for this opportunity also. Please, I want to ask if you can submit to a father in the Lord for life, or you submit only for a period of time. Interesting question.
Again, I think Charlotte's own, I will want to start with Charlotte's own. For me, a father is for life. I don't think if my spiritual father had not died, I would want to look for a spiritual father.
Yeah.
Okay. My spiritual father passed on. I prayed about it. So if your father, it's just like saying, can I have a biological father temporarily? Normally it doesn't happen that way. It's for life.
True.
You can have uncles who want to play the role of your father. You can have all of them, but your father is your father. So if the person is still spiritual father, if the person is still alive, save, of course, again, by revelation. I want to use that as the hovering board. If that comes up and the Lord tells you that this is your father, and he comes back to tell you, now take this as your father, I can't argue with God. Okay. But once God tells you that this is your father, I believe that there is something about life that God has done. With regards to Philip Opata's question, should you rely on dreams? It depends on how God speaks to you. There are people who are like Daniel. Daniel will do ministry through dreams. Daniel's visions he wrote. Going through the work of Daniel, he didn't have open visions. He will sleep, and in his deep sleep, there will be revelations. That is, dreams will come. So it depends on how God speaks to you. There are people who, their dreams are so crystal that whatever they see in a dream, they will come to pass. So if you are like that, you take your dreams seriously. Can a father's will or plans for a son be contrary to what the son wants? Yes, it can. Because sometimes even God, who is our heavenly Father, what he has, he wants for us, we don't want it.
What we want.
So it happens. Your father God might want you to marry a slim girl. You say you want a lady with whatever. So you are God. It's normally you. What do you do if there is an issue? If there is conflict? I would say that open discussion again. I'll go to my father.
But I think sometimes I'm quite afraid of their spiritual fathers.
That's the problem. That's the problem. But true fatherhood and sonship creates no walls. Okay. I don't think any of my children will be afraid to come to my bedroom. In fact, my wife had to teach my first boy, Michael, that when you are entering our bedroom, knock. Michael, he'll be 13 in October. He doesn't know how to knock to get into a room. You just open. Okay. Dad, I have a question. Dad, I have a question for you. So why? He doesn't care whether it's 2 a.m. 1 as long as it's bothering him, he'll look for you. True sonship. If the person sees you as such, I think there are certain
person should be
so the person can honor you, respect you, honor you, but it's not fear. That is not fear. You shouldn't be afraid. You should honor, you should respect them, but you should be able to. So let there be an open discussion and talk about it.
Papa, we have a question from Asan Yao. He says, hello, Papa, watching from Istanbul. What if you keep seeing a particular man of God in your dream all the time? Can that be a source of God's leading for a choice of a spiritual father?
It can be. It can also be that his type of ministry is the ministry you will do. Doesn't necessarily mean that he is your spiritual father. It can be that he is a spiritual father unto you, that God will want him to hold your hands. But it can also be that that is the kind of ministry. It's just like having a dream and seeing a man that is in the dream you were told is Elijah. Will you go and take Elijah as your spiritual father? How do you seek counsel with him? It might mean that is a kind of ministry God wants for you. Okay. So it depends.
Okay, Papa,
but I know Hassan. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Papa.
Yeah.
There's a question from Grace Moau. She says that how can a spiritual daughter impact or be a blessing to a spiritual father? In this case, your authority is a lady pastor / prophet, especially when you serve them and honor them so you are not close to them.
I think I have answered that question before.
That question. Yeah. So honor them.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll be taking this question as our last question. Yabema S. Amankwa. She says that, God bless you, Papa, for the deep insights. Papa, please, what advice do you have for ladies who want to submit to a father so that they don't turn your all into crash? Wow.
Hi!
Wow, Papa, that's interesting.
I think no matter how good looking your father is, you can marry him as a girl.
Yeah.
I will want to have a very close relationship. In fact, I keep saying that I want to have a very, very close relationship with my daughter, myself as a person. I have only one daughter, biologically, but I have many daughters spiritually. So I will want to be the one that will take my daughter to the movies. I want to take my daughter to the for lunch, for dinner. Tell her that I'm taking her on a date. She should dress up, put on her makeup, and do all of that. I'm going, and I'll just
open. You're making it difficult for the man.
Open the door for Open the door for my girl. Let her sit. Close the door. Go and drive there, and pull a chair for my daughter to sit on, and have beautiful dinner. I want to do all of that so that my daughter will see how an ideal gentleman should behave.
You're raising the bar.
Okay, now I mean that with all those niceties, if my daughter will find me attractive, it's becoming demonic.
Okay, Papa.
Then she will have my wife, that's her mother, to first of all contend with before her name is even cancelled from the family register. But again, because it's a spiritual relationship, those things can happen. And so, I would say that you should create cavities, like separators.
Okay.
So that you don't do things that entangle your emotions.
Okay.
I'll also say that spiritual fathers should not have conversations that are suggestive.
It's true.
Because if the person is going through a moment of weakness because of the awe turning into a crash, and the person is going through the moment of weakness, it takes you, the father, to be able to help navigate them from that. So I would say that if there is anybody like that, let them create cavities.
Okay.
Let them create cavities. Let them create separators so that they are able to clearly distinguish. If you see that it's still a weakness, what you also do is that avoid close relationships. Because if it's a crush, it becomes a lustful desire, which will wane over time. Wow. It will wear off. It's normal. Don't feed it. Whatever you feed will live. Whatever you starve will die. So starve that emotion and you automatically kill it.
Wow, thank you very much, Papa. Viewers, it's been such a glorious and wonderful time. We've learned so many lessons from Papa regarding fatherhood, facts, and myths. And I know that you have been blessed and you have been really edified. Papa, I would like to receive your last words.
Fatherhood is important, whether it's your biological father or your spiritual father. But I'll say that honor them. If you're a father, try to make investments in your children. See how best you can. If the person is in ministry and he's taking you as a spiritual father, be interested in his ministry. Find out how his ministry is doing. Find out what you can do to help his ministry grow. If the person is in business, do say. Find out what you can do in terms of advice or counsel And if you're a son or a daughter who is looking for a spiritual father, pray about it. Let God lead you. But when you finally settle on one, listen. Because that's the problem. A lot of us, you don't listen. But listen. Open your ears and open your heart and receive wise counsel and instructions from these great vessels that God will give you. God bless you. We love you. And I hope that we'll be able to do mightier works.
Thank you very much, Papa, for this opportunity. God bless you so much for our viewers. It's been such a glorious time, and I know that you've been blessed and you've been impacted by this session with Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye. We'd like you to know that next week, Wednesday, also will be coming your way with another glorious session of Wednesday Live. And please, this Saturday, we'll be having morning aura at 7 a.m. So do well to connect and do well to tune in. And then on Sunday, we're going to have another glorious service at 9 a.m. So please, you can just make sure that you are connected. Do well to like Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye's page and then the page of the Maker's House Chapel International so that you can receive the live notifications when the service starts. God bless you so much, and it's been such a glorious time. And stay safe. Make sure that you observe all the COVID-19 protocols, and we believe that God is going to bless us. And once again, I want to really thank my father, Dr. Michael Boadi Nyamekye, for this opportunity. Papa, it's really been humbling, and I want to thank God for your life and thank God for the many impactful lessons that you've been teaching me and all of us. And we know that God is going to take you further and God is going to take you higher. God
Amen.
Bless you so
Amen.
much for being a role model. My name is Pastor Philip Baja, and next week we are going to be back your way again with another glorious session of Wednesday Live. God bless you so much for connecting. God bless you so much for your comments, for sharing, for liking, and may the Lord continue to bless and empower you.